Inspiration can come from the most unlikely sources. Shigeru Miyamoto was inspired by the ants in his garden carrying objects 3 times their size. At that moment, he imagined them as tiny people, and this led to him creating Pikmin. The 1985 film Clue was based on the board game of the same name, which influenced a creative decision to have multiple endings. Depending on what theater you saw the movie at, you'd walk out with a unique experience, just like the game itself. In 1998, the video game company Infogrames signed a deal with Warner Brothers to publish games based on the Looney Tunes license. The usual suspects appeared: Bugs, Daffy, and Taz hopping around 2D and 3D platforms. Also, of course, the obligatory racing game. But someone decided to get a little more creative and watched the wider catalog of shorts, stumbling upon Ralph Wolf and Sam Sheepdog. In these cartoons, both characters work a day job, but Ralph's employment is to try and steal the sheep and Sam to guard them. Like Wile E. Coyote, Ralph would use a variety of devices and traps to try and steal the sheep. It's a setup almost tailor-made for a unique video game. A daring mix of puzzle, stealth, and platforming, unlike anything made before, or even since. Today we're discussing Sheep Raider, or Sheepdog and Wolf if you're in Europe, a game inspired by a very unlikely source. Much like its animated parent, the scene is set with our protagonist Ralph Wolf working his daily job of trying to steal sheep from his co-worker Sam Sheepdog. Just as Ralph is about to carry away a sheep, a cartoonish mishap happens, and he's caught by Sam. Thankfully, the whistle blows just before getting bopped, and the two punch out for the day. The wolf heads home to watch some TV, when Daffy Duck bursts through the door, inviting him onto a game show. While riding in a limousine, Daffy further explains the rules. Ralph needs to steal sheep from Sam in a series of levels, until he eventually steals the entire flock. Both the sheep and Ralph himself need to be inside the goal circle for it to count. It is a bit strange both Ralph and Sam are silent throughout the entire game. They didn't talk a lot in their shorts with it being primarily visual gags, but they were important moments working as a sort of absurdish punchline to the humor.
It's too close to quitting time, Ralph. Let's pick it up there in the morning. Okay, Sam. Good night. Good night, Ralph. Pleasant dreams.
It gave contrast, the kind of insane stuff people will do or endure simply because it's their job. Humans are simply playing the game they were handed, even being complete enemies, but once outside the context of work, they can become good friends. The game eases the player in with grace. Our host Daffy Duck in his Robin Hood costume teaches us the mechanics with a training stage is all about the very basics. He appears in many levels to inform us about new elements. The tutorial is quite well made and starts off with some humor on the signs, even asking if you wish to play this game. Replying no sends an anvil over Ralph's head, and crossing the line into the game welcomes him to the stage in a rough manner. Getting flattened by a truck and a piano, setting the tone well, even including a race with a roadrunner that ends in classic fashion. The following stages properly introduce the stealth mechanics. Sam's head appears in the corner when near him. It rotates, showing the direction he's looking in reference to Ralph's location. It does work in full 360 degrees. For example, if Ralph is behind Sam, it will show the back of his head, and if we're to the side, it will reflect that, as he sweeps his head back and forth. Obviously, if he's looking away, if you don't make any noise, he can't see you. And if he's looking at you, well, if you're not hiding, Ralph is going to be in a bad way. There is another element to this, however. You more observant viewers might have noticed the difference in color of that scribble behind Sam's head. If it's green, that means you're approaching the area, but he won't notice you yet even if looking Ralph's way. When it's orange, that means he can notice you, so better tiptoe and hide behind objects. Red means he's seen Ralph and things are going to get ugly quick. Better mash circle to haul ass out of there. Of course, just like the cartoon, there is plenty of tools Ralph can use, courtesy of Acme Inc. You even order them through the mail. Not that what you get is your choice. That'd be game breaking. The request gets sent and a crate gets airdropped. The tools are designed around each level, and there is quite a few of them. Classics like rockets, fans, costumes, and even elastic bands to sling yourself, or your sheep, or even doing some bungee jumping. The most common item will be the trusty lettuce. which is used to lure sheep with. The items you can obtain constantly evolve and surprise. There's even new tools every other level, and if not, it's because the environment itself has something to offer. You see, stealing the sheep from Sam is only one part of the equation. Often Ralph needs to figure out how to reach the field offering the sheep. This might involve swimming down a stream avoiding sharks, or something as grand as a full maze of sucking up ghosts in a vacuum, and tricking them into thinking you're a ghost just like them. Yes, both in the same intro sequence for a stage. The game takes advantage of cartoon physics for certain mechanics, like being able to run over smaller-sized chasms at full speed to the other side. Just be careful it's not too wide or Ralph will realize there's no ground under his feet. The character animations are great with its use of squash and stretch. Everyone feels rubbery. One could say it's overdone, but it gives the game a lot of life and for sure feels like a cartoon. It's something more like Tiny Toons was with its series of different animation studios than the original Looney Tunes at Warner Brothers. There's so many unique animations too. Ralph turns his feet like a propeller when swimming. His walk cycle has a great bounce with his ears swaying. This even extends to death animations, which are full of unique quirks. When Sam wallops him, he faints with appendages sticking up that fall with classic timing, or he squishes into a pile. Or how about flying high above the levels while he flaps his arms far above the stages? These environments look great, by the way. It's stupendously impressive how this team managed to capture the look of Chuck Jones and his team's aesthetic. A lot of what became identified as Chuck's signature style should be credited to layout and background artists Maurice Noble and Philip DeGard. The latter joined first in 1946, working on classics like The Great Piggy Bank Robbery. Noble would come a few years later in 1951, with his first credit being layout artist on 1951's Rabbit Seasoning. In most cases, Noble would handle the layout work, which is the composition stage where all the elements were arranged for the scene, taking care nothing would clash with the character's performance on screen. Generally, the point was to make the scene read well. This is where the visual flair would also be set. Next, this plan would be handed to the painter, usually Godard, who would bring the scene to its final stage selecting the color scheme, a very important role, unless colors were otherwise noted. Noble's modern abstract style would quickly grow into fruition with the following year's Duck Amuck, a surrealist comedy where Daffy is terrorized by an animator who turns out to be Pugs. This visual flair evolved into the signature style we know now. In 1953 came Duck Dodgers, 54 Sheep Ahoy, the second Ralph Wolf and Sam short, now sporting the new modernist backgrounds. And of course, it'd be remiss of me to not mention 57's What's Opera Doc, the iconic Wagner opera parody that got inducted into the Library of Congress for film preservation along with Duck Amuck. Sheep Breeder does this art justice. It really does often feel like stepping right into a 1950s Chuck Jones cartoon. From the rocky walls with gentle line work, to the graceful dots that suggest flowers. There's even the thin, surrealistic rock structures being represented here. Nothing is even, and everything is exaggerated. Castle walls have bricks jutting out in oblong shapes. Signs and buildings stand out against the skybox. All the colors are bright, yet muted like the original cartoons. Sort of a pastel look. All the more remarkable they captured this look on the PS1. And it's not only Ralph, Sam, and Daffy who has joined in the fun. Porky appears in the first level to explain to us how the all-important lettuce works. Elmer Fudd goes wabbit hunting, Toro the Bull appears as a stage hazard, and Yosemite Sam shows up as a pirate firing the cannons who amusingly becomes the sheep, as the goal is to lure him into prison with some gold doubloons. He gets quite agitated at this and makes an empty threat.
Thought you could trick old Sam, did you? Well, now you're gonna pay for it!
Empty threat. I half expected another boss battle. The series' humor is also on display in this game, as right after that, to finish off this level, this happened.
Dealing with this kind of stuff definitely wasn't in my contract. Can an uninformed duck get some help around here? So what do we do now? Is it okay this way or not? Technically, the sheep has been put inside the goal, and it is inside the goal, so it should be taken into account, shouldn't it? And one more victory for our contestant!
It's absurd, over the top, and I love it. It's sprinkled all throughout, even in the gameplay itself. Also, I haven't yet mentioned there is a hub area, where the player can access all the stages. And it functions as a great way to nudge the player forward, with each sheep receiving a scene where the total number counts down. It even holds a couple secret stages I'll let you all discover. There's also a bonus area with unlockable artwork that can be obtained by collecting points from finding time clocks and levels. More than a few are downright dastardly to discover. To go along with it all is a funky soundtrack. Yes, you heard that right. Funk. It might not be Carl Starling's musical puns and timed actions, although it is paid tribute here in the sound effects. For example, Tiptoeing gives the classic string-plucked accompaniment. Let's be honest, there is no good way to time music to actions in a video game. It would get really repetitious. Reactive soundtracks are a rare thing even today, and could be considered a very loose equivalent. But with the PlayStation disc's limited storage space, that wasn't happening. Funk was a great choice. It's fun music and can get a bit goofy. And let's all be honest, some funk makes everything better in life. Yes, I'm biased. My only complaint is the tracks are less than 2 minutes long and don't loop. They just fade out and repeat in a harsh way. A friend pointed out the track sounded like the British acid jazz band Jamiroquai, and lo and behold, there they are in the special thanks credits. Guess they contributed to the game. The level design is impeccable, and will test your brainpower and creativity, usually without frustration. They are designed in such a way that you can't get soft-locked. Consumable items will always respawn, and there is no game overs. It was really smart of the developers to be a bit forward-thinking and do away with lives. Puzzle games are about trial and error. Here you're free to keep at it without going back through menus after a game over. On top of it, the level itself doesn't even reset. Almost any tiny action you have taken will be saved. Again, usually. There is parts where the checkpoints can be a bit cruel. But overall, it's a much more friendly system than what existed in most games of its time. I found it often the case there is even multiple ways to solve a puzzle, whether intended or not. A fine example of this is in level 9. The stage is set in a swamp. Sam watches over a wide open area with the sheep in the center. The lettuce, which is usually used for luring sheep away, is rigged with a bell so Ralph can't get it. Across the way is the goal up a cliff. The items at her disposal are landmines, an elastic, a tiny, controllable robot, and a Bugs Bunny costume. The last one might stand out to you. You see, it's currently hunting season, so Daffy is disguised as Robin Hood to throw off Elmer Fudd, in reference to the most classic Looney Tunes moment from the hunting trilogy of shorts. There is a sign that can be swapped back and forth between duck season and rabbit season. If Ralph dons the Bugs costume, Daffy has a predictable reaction. So while the costume can be used to get past Sam, we need Elmer and Daffy to not see us at the same time. Elmer has quite the eagle eye too. I solved it by double jumping behind Sam, then donning the costume and hopping past him. Elmer did see me and successfully took the shot. I respawned on the other side, freely able to climb up top, have the robot grab the lettuce to distract Sam, who acts confused about the ordeal. While that's happening, Bungie jumped to get the sheep. Mission complete. Another method, and maybe the intended one, is to place a mine just before the sign, wear the costume, which will cause Daffy to walk into the mine, thus disabling him. Now the player is free to head across the way and get up top, since Elmer won't be looking for rabbits. However, the Bugs costume doesn't even need to be used. You can just distract Sam with the robot, grab a sheep, place it in the back area, run past, climb up, and again, grab the sheep there using the bungee. I adore the creativity that is allowed for the player. The tools really do give so many possibilities. This is not to say the game is absolutely perfect, because it has its own share of issues. The controls can be finicky in any situation that demands speed, particularly when using items. You see, when switching items, it works like this. You hold L1 to bring up the menu, and you use the left stick, or D-pad, to pick items. Naturally, this means you can't move while doing so. And being on the PS1, the developers couldn't assume people had a DualShock even in 2001. An example of this is in Stage 4, when you're given a magic flute to lead Sam away from the sheep to get hit by a boulder. That part is easy, but he doesn't stay down for long. In this short time frame, you need to cancel playing, put away your item, rush over to the sheep, pick it up, and then walk, you can't run with the sheep, to the raft. If done perfectly, you can just barely make it in time. And level 10 really does suck, and not just because of the infamous boss. This level design is really annoying. There's these auto-firing torrents that will insta-shoot Ralph if he steps out of the shadows anywhere within a line of fire. Combine this with the camera shifting upwards in certain areas, and it becomes so difficult to look around and think. Getting the lay of the land is very important in this game, and it just can't be done properly on this stage. This is an early 3D game, and some camera issues are expected. To be honest, it's good enough the majority of the time, and can be adjusted with L2 and R2. Just this stage I found particularly annoying. And the boss, Gossamer. This fight is infamous among those who played the game as being a run-ender. Many a child gave up right here, or burned out the remaining time of their rental being stuck. Like bosses tend to be in puzzle games, it's frustrating and busted. Nothing about this game is designed for fighting enemies. As the sign states nearby, he is big and red, becomes dizzy easily, and is afraid of light. While we won't be fighting him directly, the furry red boy still demands fast and precise movement. Thankfully, Gossamer doesn't try and chase Ralph around. He just stands in one spot howling, guarding a button, waiting for the player to approach. And when this happens, he jumps, sending out a shockwave that will push Ralph back, and there's a decent chance he will be sent flying off into the lava below. If you do successfully jump over the wave, this is your chance to try and run around Gossamer to make him dizzy. Of course, making this happen is the entire frustration. When Ralph tries to jump the shockwave, the hitbox has been designed to be just a touch too high, and Gossamer starts the next jump very quickly. So you need a full double jump, and to perfectly time the landing right before the next blast comes out of his feet. If you successfully stick to landing, I sure hope it wasn't too close, because Gossamer is going to give Ralph a bonk. Gratefully, this won't take a life, but it will require you to waddle away or Ralph will get kicked off the platform, which will reset everything. You need to land not too close, nor too far. The area Gossamer can suck Ralph in is wider than you'd think. Of course, landing too far away means you won't catch his eyes to make him dizzy, so he'll just jump again. Successfully land in the exact sweet spot, and race around Gossamer till he falls over. A timer starts. Quickly grab your sheep and place them on the button. This will make a wheel move away from the wall. Jump to one side to rotate it a few times and blind Gossamer. Be careful though. Falling into the magma means redoing it all over again. Repeat this sequence twice more, and the red boy politely will become a bridge for you to exit the stage. I wish I had quality tips to give here, but honestly, I just all of a sudden got it and did this 3 times in a row for victory. Thankfully, this is their only attempt at a boss in the game. Most everything else is a pleasure, and I don't think anything better shows this than the final 2 levels. The penultimate stage is a great example of how there's multiple ways to solve a puzzle, partly thanks to some jank. With only 1 sheep left, it's extra tricky to get by Sam. The setup of this level revolves around a train. It runs on a timer and has 4 locations it passes through, 2 of which it can stop at should you press a button. The starting location in the other end of a long winding road where Sam and the sole sheep resides. The area with Sam also can be accessed by catapult from the starting area, and we can see the goal circle from it. At first I attempted to get Sam stuck behind the train as I pulled in and found no success. I was never quite fast enough, and waiting for the train to arrive after hitting the button was a real drag. So time for something new. I tried riding the train and found an extra area with a post box that gave a sheep disguise. With only a single sheep, how in the world would Sam be fooled? And yeah, it went as one would expect. But I noticed something strange about Sam's pathing when creeping around on the edge, bowing and leaping away. He would kind of walk back and forth, quickly, sometimes in circles, and it's very much reflected in the HUD piece showing his current direction. And, as it turns out, taking the sheep just outside the zone will make him walk away entirely. He moves over to the goal and walks in circles. I guess he finally realized what's going on. Back on the long path is the Roadrunner, returning from the training stage, who, if you follow him all the way down, will always beat Ralph and press the button locking the path, even running at full speed. While messing around earlier, I had discovered if you just turn around and walk to the train tracks, and then double back, the Roadrunner will have despawned, leaving the door open. I have not seen anyone mention that online. From there, it was obvious to use the catapult to bonk Sam and then send the sheep and Ralph into the goal quickly. Breaking the game a bit really does feel just as rewarding as discovering official methods. Maybe this is the sort of feeling speedrunners have. I believe the intended method was to put the sheep on the train by bringing over a rock from the extra area. At that point, race the Roadrunner, timing it perfectly so the train with the sheep passes by to block the bird. You take Ralph up the hill above and make it just in time to the starting area train to stop it with the button. If the train goes all the way back around with the sheep, Sam gets the woolly boy back. Then finally use the catapult to bonk Sam and win. I have heard the Roadrunner race was the other quit point for a lot of people, and I can see why. If only they knew it could be completely ignored with despawning. There is one other method. Walk in circles and baa to attract the sheep. And if things line up just right, Sam will be blocked and you can walk to the goal. Sam will clonk Ralph, but it's still a victory. With the final sheep caught, the celebration begins, but it's quickly crashed by Marvin the Martian, who's had his flock of instant Martians lost due to that sheep that got shot out of the cannon back a few levels ago, which crashed into a tower. He demands Ralph get back the last of his Martians. In this stage, what struck me right away was how well the environment captured the look of the Duck Dodgers shorts. It's very 50s modern, using mostly colors to define the space, with the long round path that draws your eye to each location Ralph is required to visit. Every door adorned with a spaceship lamp light in front. They even got the trees that grow into X's, but it does make use of its 3D capabilities, adding more gradients and even transparency with glass. I have to really commend the artists for keeping such strong shapes that look well composed from every angle. Not as easy as it looks when getting rather minimalistic. The less you have to work with, the more important each component becomes. For this final level, the gameplay gets switched up quite a bit. The entire method of capturing has been changed. It's no longer even stealth. You need to place a chip onto vacuum compressors and then chase the Martians onto them where they get sucked in. There's 10 to catch, and some of them are rather dastardly. You'll be starting by swimming through zero gravity, using black holes to pull you along, which is a neat spectacle, and I wish was built up more. There's only one Martian you need to interact with, the mechanics to get. The others are simply about not jumping. A bit sad, a lot more could have been done with swimming in space. They even gave Ralph new animations just for this section. They are not reused from when he's in water. The majority of Martians are had by navigating what are essentially mazes, with walls that can be swapped around with buttons. The twists are that the electric walls will fry Ralph, and that we can turn small. Turning small lets Ralph run underneath them, but the downside is the Martian will attempt to sit on him. Yes, they sit on him, which I found hilarious. These don't get too complex. The trickery isn't trying to outrun the Martians in this section. You need to be tiny. Because Ralph moves far more slow, and you remember how rhythm needs to be maintained to keep up the pace, time for that thumb to get a workout. As long as you're running, the big green birds cannot touch you. Oh, also, you can't use items when small, because they would naturally crush you. Gotta be big to hold onto that remote. Of course, the tables can also be turned, but needing to chase them into the Shrinko machine, no, you cannot crush them. That would have been annoying fast, since they love to get themselves in the corners. My favorite section was when Ralph was being chased by a spaceship ready to zap us. It's a trek down hallways with buttons that need to be pressed to move electric fields behind us. But be sure to keep up the pace or they'll fry Ralph. It all culminated in a twist when encountering the Martian who starts hitting buttons of their own. Meaning if you hit them again, you're gonna fry Ralph. It all makes for a memorable finale, and is, if you take the stage as a whole, what I'd declare a proper final boss for a puzzle game. Not trying to adapt to the controls for Twitch action, but creating unique mechanics in a wildly different setting that raises the stakes. It creates a great lasting impression for the game. After heading back to Marvin, he brings Ralph home as promised and drops him off with the now charcoaled sheep. He looks bewildered to be home. As the black sheep munches on the carpet, there is a chance to walk around and view his home. However, there is nothing to interact with except the sheep, which can be placed into that circle in the middle of his floor. And suddenly, the sheep reveals itself to be Sam, and then Ralph wakes up. It all turned out to be a dream, and he has a feeling I'm sure we all share, having to trot off for another day at work that brings the game to a close. And the credits are actually pretty neat with all kinds of character renders, including some that aren't used in the game. Taz appears and K9, Marvin the dog. I wonder what they would have done. Back in the hub, there is the section you can unlock concept art from the game. There's a few other ideas shown off that were scrapped. A stage called Acme Town that looks like a cityscape. A lot of this art looks great. You can tell passion went into this project. It's honestly amazing it was ever conceived, considering there was only 7 shorts made in total, and neither Ralph nor Sam have the brand power of most any other Looney Tune character. Like I said at the beginning, they saw the setup of these cartoons had the potential to make a truly unique video game, and it absolutely did. There is no other game like it, with its unique blend of stealth, puzzle, and platforming. On top of fully embracing its cartoon source material, Sheep Raider is an absolute must-play. Hey there, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, please consider dropping a like, subscribing, leaving a comment, or even ringing that bell for more. It really helps. Also, big thanks to my Patreons, Retro Vistage and Undercover Squirrel. You dudes are amazing. This was a very enjoyable episode to put together, being able to discuss some of the greatest cartoons ever made and the people behind them. Such a fun game on top of it. As for what's coming up next, probably about time I start work on Sonic 2. I admit I've been intimidated by it looming over me. There is so much known about its development, and I know it's going to be a big episode. While it's not my personal top Sonic title, it's an important milestone in gaming and thus deserves the red carpet treatment. Also, extra slowly in the works, is a huge history and retrospective for Final Fantasy XIII. It'll probably be my first multi-hour video, but that's a ways off. The multi-hour format is what I've been trying to slowly work my way towards. And as for that, see y'all next time. Take care.